Is it possible that the connecting of Messianic Jews and international Christians in these days is much more significant than you and I think? Hi, my name is Cody Archer, and I am so glad to welcome you to today's Revive Live. This is going to be another amazing conversation that is going to bless you. It's going to make you think about new things, and I'm hoping really fuel your prayer life in a whole new way. Today I have with me Grant Berry. Grant, it's so great to have you here in the studio with me today.
Great to be here, Cody.
You had a long trip from Eilat this morning to be here today, so I'm glad that you made that trip.
Thank you.
But before we jump in and I introduce you and we get into our subject today, I wanted to remind you that here at Revive Israel, we have a lot of different types of content, not just through our weekly email update, but we have content on Instagram and on Facebook and YouTube and SoundCloud and iTunes, and we have a whole barrage of different types of content that is meant to bless you, strengthen you, enrichen you. And really, we want to be preparing the nations to stand with Yeshua in the events of the end times. And so this content is meant to bless you and strengthen you and help you be clear about where we need to be standing in partnership with Yeshua in these days. So go and check out those different places. Like I said, through audio, video messages, they'll all bless you and enrich you. Well, my guest today, Grant, is a Jewish believer, and you're actually Jewish from both sides.
Correct.
Born and raised in the UK.
London,
England, and you have a ministry in the United States.
In the United States.
And you're an author, you're an international speaker, and really it's great that you're here, and I'm so excited actually to get to know you more.
Yes, and you too,
So
Cody.
for our friends that don't know you as well, tell us a little bit more of your story. How has you, as a London-born Jewish man, comes to know the Messiah?
I originally went to America for fame, fortune, business.
Like a lot of Jewish people.
Like a lot of Jewish peoples. But I was always, as a younger man and even a child, I always had a seeking in me to want to know God. And as a modern Jew, I started looking in many different places. And a young Christian girl came into my life who had a Jewish grandma from Russia and had really learned how to bring the gospel to Jewish people just through trial and error, through her love for wanting to reach people. And I can honestly say that despite my resistance from the many times I would get together with her, she drew me to jealousy. She had a relationship with my God, and I knew something was going on after a while between her and him, and yet I was the chosen one and had nothing. No connection at all, and was honestly seeking to know the truth.
Wow. So just to jump in for a second, were you one of the Jews that was raised with kind of a rejection to Jesus no matter what?
No matter what.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay, you had that.
I think, and I write about this in my first book, and especially in our generation, not so much in your generation, it's a little bit softened in your generation, but in our generation that was closer to World War II, there's this inherent bloodline resistance that you could be anything or anyone, but you can't be a Christian or you can't believe in Jesus.
In Jesus, yes.
And of course we learned it's not all about being a Christian, but it's about he's really the Jewish Messiah. But months went by when she would share Yeshua with me, and I would resist. But she had learned to she only used Hebrew scriptures, and she, in the process, she built a platform, like a bridge for me, really the Christianity was Jewish. And after trying to seek God on my own, actually I had Reuven Doran wrote a book called The One New Man many years ago, and he and I had very similar experience. We both went into our rooms for days and weeks, trying to pray and seek a relationship with God, and the prayers hit the ceiling and came right down to the floor. Nothing. And that caused me to break away for a while. But
interesting.
A number of months later, I happened to express to this lady, that I explained this experience, and she said, "Well, I've been trying to tell you for 9 months, you can't have the Father without the Son.
Wow.
So now you're seeking, why don't you just ask?
Yes.
What do you have to lose?"
Yes.
And what do we Jews honestly have to lose?
Yeah.
What do we have to lose by asking our own God if Yeshua is the Mashiach?
Yeah.
Because he's all over the prophetic books. He's in the Torah, and he's all over the prophetic books. So walking home that night, I particularly felt the void in my heart. And at that moment, I suddenly thought for myself, and Sid Roth wrote about this many years later. In fact, he wrote a book about it, that we Jews need to think for ourselves. Well, that happened to me at that moment. I thought, what if my people were wrong? And then I thought to myself, what do I have to lose? I'm going to talk to the God of Abraham. So I went up to my bedroom and went into kind of this prayer state, because I was in New Age, so it wasn't difficult for me to spiritualize things. And I prayed. She had told me Revelations 3:20, God stands at the door and knocks, boom. If anyone hears his voice, he will open the door. And so I kind of visualized that, and I prayed, and I said, God of Abraham, I can't remember whether I said Yeshua or Jesus, to be honest, but I said, is Yeshua your son? And at that moment, a wind rushed into the top of my belly.
Wow.
And I looked at the windows and the floorboards and tried to rationalize
Where's this wind coming from?
Right, but from that moment on, I believed. I just wasn't about to tell anyone.
Wow.
That was November 1984.
Wow.
And then several months went by, and some experiences in my business life where I began to suffer some loss. And I encountered the presence of God on February 3rd, 1985, my bedroom floor, like a river. Two dark spirits came out of me. I didn't even know what they were. So he was exercising the New Age clairvoyant stuff that I was
Nobody's
involved
laying
in.
hands on
Didn't
you.
even
You're
know. I was
alone
on
in
my
your room.
bedroom floor, and I felt them leave.
I love it.
And I didn't even know what a demon was.
Yeah.
And 4 days later, I started speaking in tongues.
Wow.
On my bedroom floor.
And nobody's teaching you this stuff.
No.
No.
I didn't go to a church until couple of months after.
So now,
that's
today,
my background.
That's amazing. So today, though, you are a prophetic man. You believe in the Holy Spirit, not just believe. You're flowing with the Holy Spirit. You love the prophetic. You're a man of prayer. You're passionate about reaching the nations with the good news of the kingdom. Did all of that stuff just happen then supernaturally?
I was very fortunate. I was discipled by a young pastor in New York who had a Jewish background. And he was a revivalist, and I traveled the country with him, got connected to some major intercessors. James Gore was one of them. He used to come into our little church and pray for New York City. And I would literally sponge these guys by the time I was 3 years. And I was the evangelist for the church. So I was trying to bring the gospel to the east side of New York City, the East Village of New York City, which at that time was filled with every demon going. And I quickly learned, you cannot do anything in ministry without prayer. God taught me that principle very early on. Don't even bother unless you prayed. And you think about it, prayer is like fuel in the tank. It's like the money in the bank that provides the sustenance. Yet so many people in ministry are not praying enough for what they do. So thank God I learned that lesson early, Cody. And I started praying for Israel, and led a prayer meeting for 3 years. And during one of those prayer meetings, God spoke to me and gave me this prophetic picture through the birth of my son, that Israel was to be born in the Spirit through the church. I don't have time to go into the whole picture of that. Maybe we could do that another time. It's a very interesting story. But it changed my life, set me on a path. And I had read 150 Christian books up to that point. Lots of study books. And Lord said to me, put them all down, me, my word, and Holy Spirit. And then he started to deepen this message of reconnection in the family, which at the time, understanding that Israel would come through a reunited one new man, through almost like a fulfillment of Ezekiel 37, 9 through 11, where God tells Ezekiel to call on the winds and call on the breath. I don't think the church is yet ready to make that call, because there has to be a reconnection, a restoration in the family, almost like a remarriage to take place in order to realign the family into God's plan for these days, which have been hidden. Similar if you think about it. The mystery for the Gentiles to come in as co-heirs, Ephesians 3,
Yes.
was hidden from the Jews. Well, now the mystery, Romans 11 mystery, to restore Israel, has really been hidden from the church age. So we're coming into a new time, okay, and we'll never see this solely through a Gentile lens. So having written this book, Romans 9:1.
Actually, I just want to hold this up for a second. This is your newest book that you've just released, Romans 9:1. Is this connected at all to 9/11 in America?
Well, it is supposed. If you look at the other script there, it's time to sound the alarm.
Yes.
It has a dual message of sounding alarm through Romans 9:11.
Yeah.
That the family of God would waken and be restored into this John 17 unity, so that the Gentile side of the family can fulfill its role.
Yeah.
You see, think about it for a moment. God gave life to the nations, right? It was Israel that completed. It was a new type of Israel, the disciples and those that believed, but they fulfilled Israel's call to be a light to the nations, right?
Yeah.
So Israel brought out Yeshua, right? John 17:20. Now I'm going to pray for those that will believe in their message. Well, wait a minute, Yeshua is our message, right? But he gave them the message to take out so the children from the nations could be grafted in. And that church family changed the world. It had the power and the glory of God upon it, right, Cody? So, but 200 or 300 years later, as the Gentile side of the family begins to evolve, teachings were developed that began to break the family up away from its Jewish roots and heritage. And what happened to the church when that happened? It went into a darkness, a dark ages, and it was stripped of a great deal of its power. And it wasn't until the 15th, 16th century that the Lord started to restore the church. Well, that restoration, in my mind, wasn't totally complete when the Protestant movement started. But the Lord has restored his family in stages.
Yeah.
And this Israel peace, which we wear around our neck, the reconnection key, is the peace that the children from the nations have to reconnect to and take the key and put it in the door to unlock the end time revival.
Wow.
End time awakening. So all of that is in the book.
Wow, that's amazing.
And a whole lot more.
So then I want to ask you a question then. Let's be a little bit more on the extreme side. What I'm hearing from you is if this Gentile-Jewish connection doesn't happen, this is actually how can I even say it? It's like Yeshua's return is connected to this. If this connection doesn't happen, Yeshua doesn't return. Would you go as far as to say that?
There is no replacement. There is no replacement for this restoration theology, this restoration in the family. And what's most important is it's not just about Jewish roots. It's not just about blowing shofars and celebrating feast. All those are wonderful, don't get me wrong. But the heart of Romans 9:1 really keeps bringing us back to the most fundamental point about this restoration. Is it's a reuniting in John 17 unity.
Yes.
See, that breach was broken in the 3rd and 4th century. And in order for all the other divisions to be fixed, God is wanting to restore the unity between Jew and Gentile to relay the foundation of the church, to solidify it, that he can begin to deal with racial division, theological issues, eschatological issues. And at the heart of this, Cody, is the Father's heart of love for us, for one another. I mean, look what's happening with Revive, with Asher and David Damien and the reconnection and the restoration between Ishmael and Isaac.
Yes.
And we're beginning to see this now in the church between the Messianic body and the church. But there's no replacement for it. In fact, I would go I would say one additional point on this, that there's like a bridge, and I would call that bridge Restoration Bridge. And you may not remember this, but Billy Graham had this amazing track out in the 70s called 4 Spiritual Laws. there was a cliff on one side,
Uh-huh.
right? And there was a cliff on the other side. And of course the bridge was Yeshua.
Yes.
Well, you could almost replace that image with the restoration, the reconnection, the alignment, the synergy, the cooperation, and the activation that has got to take place is the road back to Jerusalem for the family of God.
Yeah.
And additionally, like I said before, I don't think that cry, that supplication can come up until we've reunited intimately in love for one another. That's why we mustn't miss. And not to say we shouldn't focus on Jewish roots and we shouldn't focus on these things.
Yes.
But it's the love we have for one another is the most powerful part of the connection.
So now you're laying in your bed at night, this stuff is just the Lord's deposited in you. You're closing your eyes, imagining what this looks like practically. Jewish believers, Christians coming together in love and unity. It's great to talk about those things. What does that actually look like in your mind on a practical level? And have you experienced some of this?
Some of it, I'm actually involved with the church where we're moving in this direction. And in chapter 5, in part 2 of the book, chapter 5 and 6, we talk about putting a face on what this restoration and alignment may look like as we move into it. But as I said, the book is more focused from church and the nations rather than remnant and Arab, as you would have in the land.
In Israel,
It's more of like the church and the nation. So chapter 5 deals with all of those issues, and it paints, it makes suggestions of how church bodies and Jewish bodies can begin to work together. And then chapter 6 is the only chapter in the book where the Lord allowed me to get poetic, and it's about the olive tree, and it paints a picture of the family of God from Abraham all the way through to what we call now Abba's olive tree. And it describes what the tree actually looked like as it went through the different stages. It's a beautiful chapter in the book.
So good. Well, we're almost out of time today, Grant. I wanted to take a second to encourage our friends to grab this book. I love that you're coming at a perspective from the nations towards us, in a sense, where Asher and some of these other leaders that are writing books, it's from Israel out. And I think that your perspective is super helpful and needed. We can't just have it one. There's multiple ways to look at this topic of the one new man. And so I believe this is super valid. It's the Lord that's birthed this thing. And so friends, I want to encourage you, go and get this book. Where can people find this book, Grant, first of all?
Amazon. They can get it on our website.
What's your website?
Reconnectingministries.org. Reconnectingministries.org.
Great.
And they can also find out a host of other information about how to step into what we call the reconnection. We really see the restoration and the reconnection a little bit before the alignment. You see, in the diaspora, this equation is like foreign. Well, what do you mean? There's no Jew Gentile anymore. So we have to start at a different place to kind of lay a groundwork even before the alignment can take place. And then the fourth part of the book, which I also wanted to touch on, which is most probably one of the most important, is the prayer strategy to help bring this whole equation forth. So those are the unique parts about the book are the emphasis on the remarriage and the significance, not for us not to miss that point. And then what does it look like? But then how do we do this? Because God is raising up a remnant, and He wants to mobilize that remnant into the battle.
Yeah, so good. Well, Grant, thank you so much for your time. A pleasure having you
Cody,
with me
it's
today.
A pleasure.
Yes, and friends, I want to encourage you to pick up Grant's book. And also he's talking about this prayer strategy. We know that he's a man of prayer. He's been here with our team multiple times. He's traveled all around this nation praying as the Holy Spirit is leading him and the teams that he brings with him here to Israel. We love Grant and his wife Holly. They're kingdom people, and we want you to bless them. Pick up this book. If you're a pastor, get your hands on this book. Teach it to your congregation. We believe this is important and good stuff that is going to help advance us to the next stage that Yeshua has before us of this connection of Jew and Gentile. Well, friends, I hope that this conversation has been a blessing to you today. I believe that also you're stirred to really pray more. Let's keep praying. This stuff isn't going to happen
Amen.
unless we're really giving ourselves to seeking the Lord, asking for His kingdom to come, for these connections to be remade. And I want to encourage you to like and share this broadcast, and I will see you next week on Revive Live.